Values. What are they? Why do they matter? And what happens when you don't have them? My name is Bryce Conlan. Welcome back to Dance Studio Advertising. Today, I'm coming to you solo again. Why? Because I have no friends. No, really, our team is just super busy right now. We've made a decision that we're going to start doing solo episodes to get information out to you faster. And that's what today is. And today we are going to talk about values. Now, I just stepped off a call with 16 of the studios that we work with. You would know the names of these studio owners. If I mentioned them to you, you've seen them at the conferences. They've been given the spotlight. They're all over our social media pages because these are some of the top performing dance studios anywhere in the US, Canada, and frankly, the world. But values is one of those things that comes up pretty consistently with studio owners who just say, like, I don't know what to do because I've got this situation. And so I wanted to demystify what they are. Maybe you know what they are, maybe they're not. Maybe you have some version of these already. So let's dive right in. So what are values? Well, values, very simply put, are the code of conduct by which you can run your business. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, usually they get boiled down to words like honor, integrity, excellence, things like that. And they get like posted on the wall. Maybe they're in your teacher handbook. Maybe they're in your student handbook. And then we don't really talk about them ever again. If you have values like that, then I'm just going to suggest to you that you don't actually have values at all. Because done right, values get used in every major decision that you make in your business. And I'm actually, as we get into this, I'm actually going to share with you some of our values at DMM to help solidify this. But first, let's talk about why values are important. Whenever you bring people together in any organization, whether it's a dance studio, whether it's a social dinner club, or it's a political organization, doesn't matter what it is. Whenever you bring people together, you're going to have difference of opinion. Because no matter how closely you think you see the world the same as someone else, you don't. There's going to be variances and differences, or even if you see the world exactly the same, the way that you choose to express yourself in it is going to have nuance and difference. And what do we do when we run into this difference? Well, in most hierarchical organizations, you end up saying, I'm the boss, this is how we do things. But that, I mean, you're right, you are, and you can, but that doesn't create a sense of feeling, community, camaraderie. And if you want to have all of those things with your staff, with your comp team, then we need something else to hold us together. What is that commonality? Well, that's values. It's the things that we can all agree on and the way in which we're going to show up in the world. So here's what I mean by that. I heard a situation today where a studio owner was feeling frustrated because somebody on her team, one of the people who was responsible for posting on social media, was posting things that didn't sit well with the owner. Now, they weren't wrong, they weren't bad, but something about what was happening just was like, that feels funny. And I asked the owner, I'm like, do you have company values? Do you have studio values? And the answer was no. So here's what's going to happen in that situation. The studio owner now needs to go back to that individual who's posting things that don't quite align, don't quite feel good to the studio owner. And the studio owner needs to say, listen, this isn't working for me. And what's going to happen is that person who's doing the posting is going to go, you're picking on me. I didn't do good enough. You don't think I'm smart enough to do this job. You're taking something away from me. And so now it starts to feel very, personal. It's going to be a messy situation. Now, if the studio owner had values, you can point back to them. And that's really what they are. They're just a higher power in the business. It's not me against you anymore. It's not, I think your behavior is wrong or bad, or I think that you've done something that doesn't work for me, because this is all very personal. Now we can just point back to the higher power, the values, and go, what you did, not in alignment with our values. And it makes it really quick and easy to just say yes or no. Now, let's get into the nuts and bolts. What makes a good value? What makes a bad value? Because you may think you have values and you may not. Most studios, most businesses, truthfully, because you may know before I got into dance studio marketing, I worked in the corporate world. And guess what? Every corporation in the world has organizational values. They don't really, but they think they do. And it's things like excellence, integrity, honor. But honor doesn't mean anything, or rather on the opposite sides, it means too many things, right? If I ask you about honor, what does honor mean? What's honorable behavior? If I ask 10 people, I'm going to get 10 totally different answers. And so just saying our value is honor doesn't mean anything, because you think it might mean something different than what I'm intending. And so we need a way to take a word, honor, excellence, etc., and break it down into something that everybody can nod their head and go, I understand what that means. And so I'm actually going to share our values at DMM. I'm going to put up a screen. If you're watching the video, you'll be able to see these. And if you're not watching the video, I will read them to you. So these are our core values, the DMM core values. And so what this means is every time we have a decision to make, we pull up this image and we look at it and go, okay, does this decision allow us to live into each of our 4 values? And so let's break down the anatomy of a value. You'll see that our first value is embrace simplicity. Now, the truth is, the thing that we actually value is simplicity, but we don't just say simplicity. We have a verb, either a verb, an action word, or an adjective, a describing word that starts to color how we deal with this thing, simplicity, that we do actually value. And so our value is we embrace simplicity. Now, again, the heck does that mean? It doesn't really mean anything, because what seems simple to you might not seem simple to me. Let me give you a very practical example of this one. I might think, right now we're not doing a great job following up with leads. I'm making this up. And we need to a simple system. And so I go out of my way to build a complex automated system that responds to every single thing that everybody could ever need, because now I don't have to talk to anybody, and that's simple. I'm doing air quotes if you're just listening only. That may or may not be true, because somebody else might look at it and go, what if we just hire somebody whose full-time job is to follow up with leads? That seems simple to me. And so we have to look at what this thing means, and we get to wrestle with it and push on it. But the idea is that we're all going to embrace simplicity. And then we've actually given it a definition, because embrace simplicity on its own means nothing. So we've defined it as eliminate everything that causes stress or confusion. Now, I'll be honest, this is actually happening in our DMM team right now. Christian and I came to the team with a proposal earlier this week, and we said, hey, we think that we should make X, Y, and Z changes to the business. And then we posted the video and we said, take a look, think about this, let us know. We're not moving forward. Let us know. Do you have any concerns? And we're a couple days later, and a few of the folks on our team have shown up and said, you know what? These changes, they seem like they're going to be really good, but they're actually going to be really complicated. They're causing me stress. And so we immediately go, okay, let's hit pause. Let's figure out why, and let's figure out what we need to do. We've defined it. Another one is normalize excellence, right? Like that's just the next one I'm looking at. And we've defined, again, normalize. That's an action word. We're going to normalize it, meaning the expectation is excellence all the time. We value that. We're going to normalize excellence. And then we've defined it in simple terms that anybody can understand. Go the extra mile, find a smarter way to do things, and don't settle for anything less than your best. Now, these are very hopefully concrete ways of starting to define your values. What is it? We're defining the thing that we value. Responsibility. What kind of responsibility? Radical responsibility. Responsibility that is unmatched in not just our industry, but any industry. What does that look like? How do I take radical responsibility? I'm glad you asked. You can admit mistakes quickly, take initiative, grow yourself, and challenge anything that's inconsistent with our values. Those are what values sound like. And so when I talk to studio owners and they're like, my values are excellence. Fantastic. What kind of excellence? What are you going to do with excellence? How do you relate to excellence? And this is where it gets really important. When you can break it down very quickly and simply and easily, that everybody on your team can go, I know what that means. Now you can hold them responsible to it and accountable to it. The challenge that most of us have is we have values, our own personal values. And maybe we even have like values or like a code of conduct for your competition team or your performance team. But if people don't know what those values are, or if their values run counter to our values, we're going to have a bad time. We're just going to run into some issues. And so this is where having a common set of behaviors. Now, I'm actually going to show you one other thing that I forgot to mention when I shared this image the first time. And you'll notice that up at the top here, we actually have a little paragraph or a couple of sentences that say, this is our code of conduct. It's our accepted standard of excellence. It's how we evaluate performance, and it's what we do every day. I want you to know that we actually mean that. It wasn't too terribly long ago that we actually let someone go from the DMM team because they were not living into our values, specifically radical responsibility. I needed somebody who's going to show up and say, I made a mistake, and that wasn't happening. And so we had to make a change because every decision we make filters through our values. And so what does that mean? Like, well, practically speaking, whenever we have a decision on the table, we run it through our values. Okay, we think we're going to do this. Let's go through our values. Does this embrace simplicity? Does it eliminate stress or confusion? Yes. Move on. No, it's off the table. Love practically. We slow down for others. We collaborate selflessly. Does this allow us to do that? Yes, it does. Does this normalize excellence, make us better? Does it? Yes. All four are yes. We move forward. No, one of them's a no. It's off the table until we figure out why. Those are what values are. Now, here's what that means. In the case that you have a teacher or a parent or a dancer who is not adhering to the values of the organization, well, they had to agree to them to join your staff or to be a dancer because this is how we do things. And you get to point back to it. So it's not me against you. It's just, listen, this behavior that you're doing right now, not consistent with our values, I'm going to need you to either adjust or you got to go. And it's just that simple. And so it takes all the emotion out of it. It takes all of the complexity and nuance out of running a business and making hard decisions really simple. Because it's not like, listen, it's not that I don't like you, but let me explain and let me give you all this information. It's just, no, this is the value. You agreed to it when you came in. You're not living into it, or that behavior's not living into it. So you need to change the behavior or you need to go somewhere else. Done. Takes long conversations, makes them short. Takes muddy conversations, makes them clear. Takes complicated conversations, makes them simple. We're big fans of values. And I'm going to encourage you to do your own values. And so here's what we're going to do for you. I'm just going to give you a gift that is honestly for you. I've put together a worksheet that will allow you, it explains this. It has some of these frameworks and premises. There's a literal worksheet that you can print out and you can do this yourself where you can come up with your value. What is it? I value simplicity. What kind of simplicity? Fill it out for yourself. You can take it back to your team. You can do it together. I know businesses. I had a business years ago. And we did this. We actually spent, truthfully, about 3 months working on our values. And I tell people that today, and they go, are you out of your mind? You spent 3 months on them? Yeah, we did, because we started with a whiteboard that had like 26 values on them. And then we pushed and pulled and worked on the language until we could get it down to something that was simple and easy. And everybody could understand if you were been there for a long time or if you were 5 minutes into the business. By the way, those values are actually the ones that we adopted at Dance Motion Marketing because they worked so well to create a cohesive team that is moving in the same direction. Okay, other benefits to having values. Let's just get into this one. When you have values and you've taught people what they mean and how to live into them, you do not need to micromanage anymore. Why? Because somebody on your team is going to do it, maybe not the same way that you would do it, but in the same spirit that you would do it. And so I can look at tactics and go, well, I would have written that email a little bit differently, or I would have used a different image in that ad or whatever. But if it's value aligned, if we look at it and go, yeah, well, that's value aligned, then it's good enough. And good enough by someone else is way better than perfect done by you. And so this is just like a spectacular way. It allows you to trust your staff and say, listen, I know you know our values. I trust you to live into them. And so now you can let your staff talk to people. You can let your staff post on social media. You can let your staff do whatever they want to do in the ways that they desire to show up and help your business grow. But you can't do that You can't give the long leash. You can't cut people slack unless you first tell them how you expect them to behave. Hopefully this is helpful, by the way. Like, I love this, but this is hard. And it's hard because, first of all, most of us have not seen this done real well in our lives. Second of all, even if we have seen it done well, we don't necessarily know how to do it ourselves. And third, it's just sort of one of those in the ether things. It's not a like cut and dry. An offer is pretty easy. What do they get? How much does it cost? When does it start? Like, that's pretty straight ahead. This is touching on deeper things. It's about psyche and the deep spiritual things that make human beings tick. And so this is hard to do. So if you want the help, if you want the free template that I've got for you, just head on over to dancemotionmarketing.com/blog/values, or you can click the link in the show description or under, if you're watching on YouTube, in the description under YouTube, and you can get that for free. Now, here's the thing. I'm so committed to giving you this as a value for you that I'm not even going to make this like a lead magnet or where you need to enter your name or email. It's literally just on the website. You can just download it for free. No opt-in, no sign up, no nothing. Just dancemotionmarketing.com/blog/values. Print out that sheet, go through the process, and then I would love it if when you have your values, you would share it with our team just by putting them online, putting them on your website, and then tagging our team at Dance Motion Marketing so we could see what you've done and celebrate with you. That's what I got. Have a great one.